Hi, I'm Cheryl Ann from Cherry Lane's Cupcakes, and today I'm going to show you how to bake chocolate Playboy Tuiles. Originally from France, tuiles actually mean tile and is typically enjoyed crispy. However, I do know of some people who actually prefer it to be a little bit underbaked, so it's a tiny bit chewy and a lot softer. And I will show you in the video how you can achieve both different kinds of textures just using different baking times and temperatures. Anyways, enough talking, let's get straight into it! You'll need one Ziploc or a piping bag, 45 grams of dark chocolate. I tend to use more just because it's easier to hold and makes it easier when piping. And then 2 tablespoons of plain flour, a quarter cup, which is 60 grams of caster sugar, the white of 1 egg, 30 grams of unsalted butter, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and finally an inverted stencil of 12 Playboy images on an A4 sheet of paper. And if you don't know how to invert images, I've uploaded this stencil onto my Facebook page so that you can easily print it off. First, you want to melt your chocolate in your microwave at 15-second intervals, ensuring that you stir it after each round. Chocolate melts a lot better when you fiddle with it, and it also helps to ensure that you don't accidentally burn your chocolate. So as you can see, after the first round it wasn't melted at all, so you just stick it back in, and in it went for another 15 seconds. Took it out, give it a little bit of a stir. Right now it's slightly melted. Put it back in for another 15 seconds, and then took it out. And it's more melted, but obviously not quite there, so I stuck it back in again for the final 15 seconds. And now it's done. And as you can see, there's still chunks of chocolate inside, but as you keep stirring it, the heat from the already melted chocolate will help to melt those that wasn't melted, and the heat from the bowl will also help to melt it. So now you want to just keep stirring it until all your chocolate is completely melted and looks really smooth without any lumps or chunks inside. Next, roll down your Ziploc or your piping bag and then spoon in all of your chocolate into a corner, ensuring that you get as much of your chocolate in there as possible, and then just pinch off the spoon so that you don't waste any of the chocolate you've already melted. And then just roll up your bag and then push down the chocolates from the sides towards that collection of chocolate, and just roll your bag on the top a few times so that you have a really firm grip. Next, carefully use the scissors and cut a really small hole so you'll have a really precise piping tip. And also because the chocolate is so liquidy, you don't want it to be flowing all over the place. So now you just prepare your tray by sticking the stencil underneath a sheet of baking paper. So you just start by slowly outlining the shape of the Playboy bunnies. You really want to just take your time with this because the neater you are, the more precise and obvious your Playboy bunny tuiles is gonna come out. So here I'm just slowly going around. The trick to try to get steady hands is perhaps you can try holding your breath as you go around and then quickly catching your breath every time you can lift your piping bag up. Anyway, so once you go around, you just fill in the chocolate in the middle, so you kind of like flood the image. And be sure to keep the space where the eye is like chocolate free. So you go around it like so, and then just continue filling it around. You want to work relatively quick with this because you don't want your chocolate to start to harden, and you want to try to pipe on as thin a layer as possible. So now for the bow tie part, you just make a little Z. That's what I found to be the easiest way to establish the bow, just like that, and then draw the line. And the reason why you want to pipe it on as quickly as you can is simply because you don't want the chocolate that you're working with to start to harden up, because that's going to make piping it on a lot harder and your flooding not as smooth, because you also want to keep it as thin as possible, remember that. So working quickly is really your best bet. And if you're living in a cold country, I really recommend melting your chocolate in small batches so that your chocolate consistency will be even throughout. Now this recipe makes approximately 24 little Playboy bunny tuiles. So once you finish piping your first batch of 12, you want to set that aside and finish designing all of your images before you go on to make the batter. And you can really have as much fun with this. You can make any design, you can write words. Just remember it needs to be inverted so that they will be facing the right direction when you finish baking them. So now you just leave all of that aside to set and go on to make your batter. So you start by separating your egg white from your egg yolk by splitting your egg in half, and obviously mine wasn't exactly half at all. Anyway, so you just toss that back and forth. Be careful to try not to break the yolk because you don't want to get any yolk in your egg whites. Now once you've done that, pour your egg whites into your mixing bowl and then add in your sugar. Next, using a hand whisk, just give it a good whisk and just keep mixing it until all of your sugar is dissolved and your mixture should look something like this. Really smooth without any gritty, sugary bits inside and really white. Next, just melt your butter in the microwave, ensuring that it is completely melted, but at the same time that it's not too hot. So just warm to the touch and then just pour that in and give it a good stir and then just add in your flour and then your vanilla essence and just keep mixing it until everything is well incorporated and looks something like this. Now if you find that your Playboy bunnies aren't completely set yet, which means they're still wet or a bit soft, just stick it into the fridge for about a minute before you go on to this next step. And now that your bunnies are completely set, you're ready to just spoon over about half a teaspoon of your batter over the top of each bunny and just roughly give it a swirl so as to spread it out to make a little neater round. You can even use an offset spatula if you want to be really neat, but personally I find just doing this way is good enough. So the batter has to be slightly thin, not too thin but not too thick at the same time. Also, be sure not to spoon too much batter as these cookies will kind of spread quite a bit in the oven. So just a half a teaspoon is more than enough. So as you can see here now, I'm just like roughly ensuring that I've covered the entire chocolate that I've piped on. During this time, make sure your oven is preheated to 180 degrees Celsius. And once you're done, you want to bake that for 5 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. And then bring it down to 165 degrees Celsius for 1 minute, and then down again to 130 degrees Celsius for another minute. You will find that the edges of your wafer cookies will start to brown, and that's when you'll have a tuile that is crispy around the edges but really soft around the middle. So if that's the way you like it, you can try to kind of shape it into a little potato chip looking tuile. So it's kind of cute, but you can also leave it completely flat, which is what I did for most of them. So anyways, I don't actually like it when it's softer in the middle, so I flipped all the tuiles around where the bunny is facing upwards and stuck it back into the oven for 5 minutes at 170 degrees Celsius. So once they were done, you can tell that they were slightly darker, but I could still shape them into the potato chip looking shape while they were warm if I really wanted to. So now you just let that set and it will crisp up. Yup, and that's the sound of delicious. And as you can see, it's beautifully golden brown on the top and on the back. Now let me let you hear how crispy this is. How good does that sound? And they taste really yummy as well, so definitely give these a go. Have fun with it, and I hope this video has been helpful to you guys. If you've enjoyed it, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And till next time, I am Cheryl N from Cherry Lane's Cupcakes.
Le pop art, c'est la liberté.